always a possibility. And also, Nick Richards has expressed that they're exploring alternative ways to make money.
Mm.
So we're going to look at this post if Gatorooze wants to stay with us, or if he's got
Sure.
something else to say before we get to that.
I probably did, but I can't remember now.
Uh,
That's all good.
It's because all the blood is rushing to your head. When you're in Australia and you're on the bottom.
Yeah. That's it.
So we're going to get to this. There's a post. I got a screenshot of the post from Start Engine in the comment section. So we're going to look at that. It is from Nick Richards, or at least it is from someone claiming to be Nick Richards. I don't know if there's a way to verify the people on Start Engine that they are who they say they are, but we're going to assume.
It's got a little Intellivision sticker next to his name.
Yeah, but I don't know who's at the other end of the computer. It could be Tommy. It could be the janitor.
True, true.
We're just assuming that it is, in fact, Nick Richards who made this post. So we're going to go ahead and read it for you in case you can't read it yourself or it's just too small. It says, this was in a reply to someone named Joseph, obviously. So he says, Joseph, first let me explain some of the planned revenue sources that will provide. Carl, could you mute your mic? Let me start over. It says, Joseph, let me first explain some of the planned revenue sources that will provide a bit of more clarity on how to interpret the validation of any addressable market. So right off the bat, he's like, dude, you don't know the addressable market. You're misunderstanding. Let me clarify it for you. Let me explain to you why you don't know the things that I know. Let me explain why you're dumb. That's what I'm getting out of that sentence. It says, we obviously have our core Amico console and associated games as well as related accessories. Obviously, we got that shit. Come on. This is targeted at the casual family market, especially those wanting to provide a safe and responsible gaming experience for their family. What, you hate family gaming? Come on, Joseph. Get on board. It says we also have a segment of games and third-party IP that will be offered on the Amico platform, but will also be published on third-party platforms. Did you hear that, folks? Amico games
but
on
exclusive
third-party platforms, not exclusive. Nick Richards, Intellivision, 16 hours ago, thereabouts, from when I got this screenshot. So if I'm understanding this correctly, because certain games, obviously, Fox and Forest is not theirs, but Finnegan Fox is. So are we going to now see Finnegan Fox go back to the Switch, a different version? Is Rigid Force Redux Enhanced going to come back to the Switch as a different version? Is the Dino Blasters games, which said were going to be multi-platform, are they somehow getting money from that? I can't imagine. The same thing with Space Strikers, which is going to be called Graviators on other platforms. Are they somehow getting money from that? Because he doesn't specify which games, right?
Did he just say they're going to support microtransactions?
We haven't gotten to that yet. We don't read ahead,
Holy
Gatorooze.
shit. Sorry.
I know you're new on the panel, but you don't read ahead.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. We got time. This is like a 6-hour show. We got plenty of time.
Holy.
Says, in addition, we will be offering specific versions of certain games on mobile that will support common revenue models such as in-game microtransactions. So remember when Tommy was complaining about DLC and microtransactions and saying how predatory they are and how Amico would never be involved in such a thing?
Yeah, it wasn't family friendly.
Technically, they're not going to be involved because it won't be on the Amico, but it will be on the mobile version. That's right. And I'm guessing they're going to bring out their own version of Emoji Charades, which was already mobile, and probably Evil Knievel is going to go back to mobile, but as the Amico's Evil Knievel.
No, Tony, you're misreading. There's a typo. It meant macro transactions.
No, it said micro. So in-game microtransactions. I wonder what games those are going to be, and I wonder why they feel that these games would be a good fit. I mean, could you imagine? Maybe you got to play Moon Patrol on your phone, and it's $0.25 every time you want to start a new game. Like, hey, Like you're just playing an arcade, guys. Just it's a quarter. Play another game. Want to play some Astro Smash? Quarter.
I mean, what I don't understand is if these games were developed for the Amico, and you really wanted to sell your hardware, and you have a lot of quote unquote haters telling you that there's no software for your hardware. Why, it baffles me why you would want to take these versions and just make them more readily available on other platforms.
Well, when we first proposed that they should just put them on other platforms to begin with and skip the Amico console altogether, we were called morons who didn't understand the market, nor did we understand what is a profitable business model. But apparently we did, and this is the result of that. So again, a big round of applause for everybody on the panel and everybody who said that this was what they should have did in the first place. It's kind of making my back feel just a little bit better. It's like a weight has been lifted off of it.
See, I told you.
It says, the part of this broader revenue strategy that is important to clarify is that the core Amico console platform will not deviate from the family gaming ethos that we have established. Do you know what that sounds like to me, gentlemen? That sounds like to me that Amico is going to offer T-rated games on mobile and maybe on other consoles. Maybe we're going to have Intellivision games that are just a little bit more edgy on the Switch or on the PlayStation.
Wow.
Now, go ahead.
Go on.
I was just going to say real quick. Okay, go ahead.
I was going to bring it back to the investment because this is a comment on their crowdfunding thing. Nowhere in their campaign or their SEC filings, in their prospectus, does it say any of that. That's insane. If these were your additional revenue streams, why the fuck are they not in your prospectus?
Well, here's the thing. I was going to touch on that. The SEC filing did say that they might be forced to drastically change, or I don't know what it was verbatim, but that wording was in there, correct?
Yes. Basically that we can't have a physical product yet.
Well,
this sounds more like a plan. They've developed something. They have a plan to do. It's a revenue strategy, he calls it, not just a crisis plan.
To be fair, again, because we like to play devil's advocate and be fair here, this Start Engine campaign was started on Monday. This comment was made earlier today. So between Monday and today, maybe they were like, guys, we're fucked. Everybody knows we're fucked. We need to pivot. Remember that stream that Tony did and he said all that stuff that we should do? Let's fucking do that. Someone pull the stream up and we're going to do the shit that he said.
Yep.
You're welcome.
And that Retro Bro and company, a few of them are virgins. We could sacrifice a few, get a few $billion.
Carl, how many times do I have to say this? If they sacrifice virgins, they're going to have half of their market wiped out. Half of the people that are going to buy Intellivision Amico will be gone. Start sacrificing virgins, all right? Oh, wait, that's the haters. We're the virgins. Sorry, never mind.
I'm just saying that, if they're going to go with microtransactions or consider it, don't think they will not consider virgin sacrifices. That's all I'm saying on this subject.
Carl, you're so...
People like that are that dastardly. You can't trust them. They're like used car salesmen.
All right, let's
half of their pitch was about the evils of microtransactions, and now they're going to do them themselves.
But it's only evil when other companies do it, guys. Come on. Don't you understand? Do as I say, not as I do. All right, let's continue on because Nick has written a lot here. It says, with that said, can't use that phrase, Nick, by the way. That's my phrase. I always say with that said. You can't use that. Why is people stealing my phrases and my...
Those interns are working hard, Tony.
Blinded Braille the other day was calling people meat bags, and I was like, what's going on here? But it says, with that said...
I've been saying with that said before you, Tony.
Given our target demographic, we can't simply look at the existing gaming market when considering what our addressable might look like. Interviews with families that were Nintendo Wii owners showed that a significant portion of that market exited the console market. They did not purchase another console after the Wii. The most common reason given was that there was not a comparable product that provided the same level of accessibility and group play experience. This is false. Um, I'm sure
Massively
they talked to
false.
several people. Here's the thing: we sold, was it like 100 million Wii's, right? Um, I'm 100% certain that they did not talk to 100 million people. I'm certain that they talked to a couple hundred, maybe, and then they tried to extrapolate that data to show that everybody who had a Wii felt this way.
Hmm.
And I don't think that's how that works. You know,
Bad
especially
research.
since a lot of Wii's were in, like people said before, old folks' homes, older people's, who probably have passed. You know, I'm not trying to be mean, but people get old and die. It says, based on these findings, we established the assumption. Yep, that's right. It's an assumption that a significant portion of our addressable market is not necessarily represented in the video game industry revenue numbers. Now, again, they're claiming they have a 3 billion person addressable market. The Wii only sold 100 million plus, right? Let's say that every Wii owner had a family of 5. That's still only 500 million potential Wii owners that would be potential Amigo owners. That's nowhere near 3 billion. Where's the other 2.5 coming from?
Well, that's the point. They're definitely inflated numbers.
All right, let's go on. It's also important to mention that we don't see the purchase of an Amico as an exclusionary decision toward other gaming products. Well, again, I've heard Retro Bro and other people say this, like they'll buy, people will buy a Wii in addition to an Xbox, in addition to a PlayStation. But the reason people buy a Switch in addition to a PlayStation is because the games they offer, like Mario, Zelda, Metroid, and because the Wii does something different compared to those other ones. The
Yeah,
Amico has
Microsoft and
demonstrated nothing different in my eyes to anything that's currently on the market.
correct.
I mean, you could say that they have plans, right? They're always talking about the games they're going to have or the things that it's going to do. But they've demonstrated none of this, right? I could have pie in the sky dreams all day long, but it doesn't mean that the system is capable of it or is ever going to reach that goal. All right. It says Amico will have a heavy focus on families with younger children. So we see Amico as an on-ramp to gaming for those families that probably have tablets and smartphones. But okay. Millennials are now the largest generation, surpassing the baby boomers. They statistically have been starting families later in life, which has been created one of the largest populations of family with at least one child 7 or younger than any other time in history of the world. So millennials who grew up with Nintendo are somehow going to abandon Nintendo later in life to get an Amico. This is the angle that they're going with.
Okay, yeah, I need to interject here.
Uh-oh.
Now, this is a load of crap, especially for anyone here who has ever watched a retro gaming YouTube video, or, well, people like Dazed Gamer, and they are not going to forget about their Nintendos or Genesis consoles. This is a load of crap.
Yeah, I agree.
Gary, you are a retro gamer. Would you forget about your Nintendo?
The funny thing is that as a retro gamer, anytime I walk into a retro gaming shop, the first section I go to is the original Nintendo carts. I think they really have to be marketing this towards people who grew up with a Nintendo in their house but don't play video games right now. Because it's why they pivoted off of, well, we're really not selling this to retro gamers, because any retro gamer, and you're usually going for the big the Sega Genesis, Nintendo, those are things you kind of actively seek out. I don't know how you could possibly market this to anybody with a brain that's in the retro, scene.
There's no way Ninja Kitty, Gary, Days Gaming, or any of those other guys, Metal Jesus, Radical Reggie, John Hancock, John Riggs, no Mad Little Pixel. There's no way in hell, the seventh circle in hell, that those guys are ever going to abandon their collections for this.
And it just had to complement it, like Tony said. The Switch complements, a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X. Where the Amico stands is just a small group of people, and that's what we've been arguing the entire time, that this market isn't as large as they were saying it was, and that we really just don't see it breaking into, families who don't game.
Yeah, I mean, there's also another untapped space that these people are not talking about: emulation. These people are not going to pay $250 to go for an emulated console. That's a load of crap.
Get a little excitable there. I love it, but we gotta get through this. We gotta. And also, I just, again, devil's advocate, the people that you've named, all those retro channels, not really typical retro gamers, right? Let's face it. Even me, I buy way more stuff than the average gamer. We're not average gamers. We're on YouTube. We might be the average YouTubers, gamers, but we're not the average gamer, right? But let's continue on with this long, epic post. It says, as the children in the family mature, we can imagine that they might move to something like the Nintendo Switch and ultimately onto more hardcore gaming on the Xbox or PlayStation. As they do, we see the gaming dynamic for those children shift to a more physical isolation and online play. Again, this is a scare tactic and complete bullshit. There is local co-op on all systems. People are not isolated. This is not the 90s or the early 2000s where everybody was with their headphones on in their basement playing games by themselves. Mm-hmm. Gaming has become a very social activity. Okay, very social. And even if, I know, they're very against online play, but even online has become very social with Discord and people chatting and other things like that. So it's not like you put the headphones on and you're by yourself, not actually talking or having any kind of communication with anybody. This is very, very
right. And I mean, look at things like Major League Gaming and stuff. I know those things are kind of like cringy to some of us, but I mean, those things have become they've become popular, over recent years. So it's just absurd to hear them say that most gamers are stuck in their room in the dark with headphones and they only play by themselves. It's just dishonest.
Yeah. All right. Let's continue on here. It says, with our heavy focus on in-person group play, we can imagine that families will consider Amico as an addition to existing gaming systems they might already own. Again, all games have couch co-op, local co-op. The fact that the Amico has every game being couch co-op, again, is not an advantage when you consider that 50 games, let's say all 50 of those games are finished. The Switch alone probably has 1,000 games that are multiplayer. Okay, 50 versus 1,000. There's no, if the Amico had 10,000 games that were multiplayer, then you might have an argument here. You might say, well,
I'd even go as far to say, Tony, that they could make the argument, well, those are harder, more sophisticated games to play, and I'd even argue that there are thousands of simple games exactly like games that are on the Amico to play, games that your parents could pick up and not have to spend an hour understanding the controls.
But the comment of additional to existing gaming consoles, why would anyone buy an Amico if they have a Switch or a PS5?
I want to touch on Blinded Braille's point.
Don't touch his
when
point,
I was
Carl.
Well,
you didn't ask for consent. You have to ask. You have can I touch your point?
When I was looking for my Switch OLED, I actually ran into an interesting display. I think it's like either Target. I think it's like Best Buy, where they were basically doing the same kind of campaigning at marketing as Intellivision, the same exact kind. Appealing to the same kind of people.
Yeah, in a better way too. All right, let's go on to this next one. This next one really upsets me, so we're gonna really get to this. I might blow a gasket here. But given our strategy with regard to board game conversions and new board game concept development, we also looked at the $13 billion plus board game market that is seeing compound annual growth rates similar to the video game industry, where analysts expect to see CAGR of anywhere from 7% to 10% for the next several years. Some of these board game concepts integrate physical media and our RFID technology, which creates additional ancillary revenue streams. Okay, first off, the board game market that is taking off is not simple board games. This is not Sorry and Candyland and shit like that.
Things that you can find at your local retail store.
Right. These are board games that are very complex, very complicated, and complete opposite of the simple things that the Amico is trying to do. I mean, Monopoly is probably far more complex than anything the Amico has ever discussed. And so the board games that we're talking about here, these really expensive, high-end luxury board games that people get, they're way, way more complex than anything. These are not games that little kids are playing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
And
These are
also,
games that grown adults are playing.
and also some of these board. I was just going to say. Also, secondly, some of those board games are like D&D style board games.
Well, yeah, you're seeing an uptick in these companies like Limited Run, for example. They have games like Binding of Isaac has a board game. Their actual video games are coming out with board games.
Mm-hmm.
There's even
these are complex games. These aren't like life. It's not trouble.
There's even a Skyrim board game out there. I can imagine how that is.
Right.
But why would they connect the board game with the current video game market? Like, I really don't see the connection.
I can address that.
Okay.
Their belief is that because the controller can show things, that they'll be able to play a board game, and you'll have, secret information like your cards instead of holding cards.
Like Clue would be a perfect example of something that would work well on the Amico if the Amico was a well-running system.
That's a massive stretch for me personally, but I don't see how anybody. Yeah.
Clue is not the kind of game that's the board game market is, setting on fire. It's not the kind of game that's out there. Secondly, and this is something that no one outside of the board game community really seems to understand. Board gamers, they love physical. They love the game. They love the setup. It's a whole experience.
Mm-hmm.
Putting that into a video game is not appealing to them. That's not what they want. They wanted to play a video game, they would play it. They want to sit down around a table with a board, rolling dice, holding cards.
It's the same thing with cards, right?
It's a whole thing. And 3, from the sound of this, it's several of these board game concepts integrate physical media and our RFID technology. So it sounds like to me that they're going to be selling packs of RFID cards that are basically microtransactions of digital items. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to buy a booster pack of, say, Magic cards, but they're all RFID cards.
That'd be crazy if they did that.
I mean, personally, that kind of like appeals to my, like, it slightly appeals to me, but at the end of the day, they're not going to offer anything that's, the quality's not going to be there. And we know that with, other things. And obviously they haven't started any kind of such, avenue.
Well, here's the thing you really got to think of. If this technology, right, if this was good, RFID cards, I could imagine you're playing Yu-Gi-Oh, for example, right? You get the card and you tap it to your controller, just like in the cartoon, and the little thing pops up on the screen, right? Why wouldn't Nintendo?
But they already.
Why wouldn't?
That sounds like the choice of life, though. That already exists.
And it actually exists in Japan. We don't get a lot of those kind of things that, and they have an arcade machine that pretty much does that already.
But that whole idea has already been done, and it's kind of yeah.
There is a game on the Nintendo Wii U that did this exact kind of thing, and you know what? It didn't do well. At all.
Mechacoid says, so card packs like Mattel Hyperscan. Yeah, they're bringing out the Hyperscan back on the Amico.
No, the Animal Crossing
Cards, yeah.
the Animal Crossing game on the Wii U. That's what that did basically, and it didn't do well at all.
Yeah, this is like very similar to the Toys of Life, and that whole like niche died out because it was just too expensive. Like you got to keep
That's
up and keep
exactly
buying
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
they did something similar with not RFID cards, but like with the Skylanders and the Amiibos
Yeah.
and all that.
Disney.
They had it all the way
Disney-
back on Game Boy Advance had one, I remember. It was like a little barcode reader for Pokemon cards or something.
Yeah, the e-reader.
Yeah, e-reader, that's it.
So, again, nothing new,
yeah.
and nothing that has ever set the gaming world on fire. But we got to go to the next line. It says, for completeness, I would also like to mention a product line that is yet to be announced. We're getting a sneak peek here. That uses only smartphones to create a dynamic group play experience with no additional hardware required. Sounds like the Sony PlayLink. Which, again, did not set the world on fire. Some of the initial game development concepts are in the social deception genre. Ooh, so you'll be able to play Among Us on your phone, like how you can play Among Us on your phone now.
Yeah.
Or you can play Werewolf or any other version of, which is basically all the same game. Can we just say that, I know this is the Amico section, but Among Us, Werewolf, Mafia, it's all the same fucking game, all right? You're just putting a new coat of paint on it and calling it something else, but it's the same fucking game.
No, okay, all right. No,
We used to play
hate
Mafia on forums. Okay, we used to play Mafia on forums.
Yeah, but
boom,
here's the thing.
Long time ago.
Here's the thing. You can play Among Us single player without having to pay anything. You don't even get the full
Yeah, that's a good
experience
point.
except the multiplayer. Okay, you get the various activities like fixing the engine and all that stuff. You still get that kind of stuff with Among Us, and that's one of the reasons people like that game.
Yeah. Plus, people stream it. There are popular streamers. You can't just suddenly create a new Among Us like that's or a Fall Guys. It's organic. And
Well, you can, but it's not a guarantee that it's going to take off.
Well, that's what I meant when I say a new Fall Guys, or because look at Fall Guys, that was
died off
before it hit. Among Us was on mobile before it hit.
Among Us seems to be it keeps going. Like Fall Guys kind of fell off because I think it wasn't on enough platforms.
Well, that's the thing. It's like Minecraft, right? How many imitators of Minecraft have there been, and have any of them succeeded and surpassed Minecraft now?
One was called Fortress Craft, and it didn't do well at all.
I think Terraria was the closest. Yeah, that kind of has died off. Like Minecraft has been going on for what, 12, 13 years now.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
All right, so let's get to the end here. You might not be able to see this on stream because of the Amico Intellivision by the numbers thing, but it says, again, you can see that the one common thread in all this is group play. Bringing people together in group play is Intellivision's mission above all else. Again, group play has not gone away. Like, I don't understand. I understand in a sense that group play is good, but to make it like your main focus and like the only thing that matters, our games might be shit, but you can play them together, guys. So no, have good games.
But Tony, games like Mario Strikers are not coming out. Games that have 8-player group play that doesn't exist.
I'll tell you who this is for. It just popped in my head. This is for the people who will be paying $25 for that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe track pack.
Carl, we're not in the Nintendo Direct. You're giving it away.
But it's true.
Reel it in.
So I've got a comment on this. And I think this kind of sums up some of the issues with Intellivision as a company, as an investment standpoint. Do you remember the question that was asked that he answered this long rambling diatribe with? the person just asked for two things. He said, can you show me the methodology and results of your market research? And number two, can you give me the breakdown, numerical breakdown of the sizable addressable market, serviceable addressable market that you put the $52 billion figure for? That's all they asked for. And they go on this insane rant that brings out 3 separate product lines that have nothing to do with Amico. What is the focus of this company? Have they been spending R&D dollars on these 3 non-Amico products? What's going on there? That they don't have a firmware or a store or an OS complete, yet they're doing all this R&D on mobile games.
And I think that could be a viable reason they are spending the R&D dollars, because they're getting feedback, and it's not the feedback that they want to hear. So that they've always constantly had to change it up every so often, because they're just like, okay, well, what we're getting is that people don't want that. So let's go somewhere else and see if, this is a viable option. And it just, nothing has worked.
Real quick.
Down.
But it hardly gives you confidence as an investor where he's just said, well, we're actually not going to do the thing we just pitch you on. We're going to focus on these 3 other things. It's crazy. And besides that, he didn't answer the question. They were pretty, I mean, he may have said, we're not going to release those, they're proprietary. He didn't say that. He just obfuscated.
Yeah. Real quick, let me finish this last sentence or two. It says, with this as a preface, I will provide a follow-up post that walks through some of the calculations that were used in determining our estimated addressable market. So we look forward to that follow-up post from Nick Richards. Now, I will say this once again, this is supposed to be a very transparent company, a company that is more transparent than anybody else.
Yeah.
And this is the first time I've heard any mention of a separate product which does not use any hardware, that is straight mobile phone. This is the first time I've heard of any mention of adding microtransactions to games that are going to be available on mobile. And it's the first time I've heard that they're going to put their games on other platforms. You would think that these 3 very, very important things would be mentioned somewhere in some official capacity, whether it's SEC filings, whether it's a press release like normal companies do. Phil Adams has been on 2 live streams. He didn't mention any of this. Tommy has been on so many live streams. He's never mentioned this. In fact, he's always said that these were stupid ideas that they would never do for the Amico. So again, I have to ask, was this really something that they just came up with in the last couple of days? Like, hey, we're not making any money. We got to throw something at them that will make them think that we're going to have money.
What can we throw at the wall that will stick?
Could it be that they are actually working on the groundwork for a big con expansion to bring the whole game to the Amico and add a little something to it? And for those who don't know what that game is, look up the big con. You'll understand the joke.
We had it on the channel, Carl. We featured it here. It had music by Rockapella.
I'm just being thorough, damn it.
I'm just saying. we talked about it on the show.
We did.
Again, either they're not going to do these things, and this is just him spitballing in the comment section, or this is a plan that has just been quickly decided upon, and that they're going to pivot. Because again, if they were doing these things, it would have been nice for other investors to know these things, right? Like, why were they investing thinking that the Amico was their number 1 product or their only product? And some of their investment dollars are now going to these other ventures.
Well, it's a good point, because the FIG money, I believe, is for specific development. Like, I don't think it's just, here's a bunch of money, do what you want. I think it's, you've told us you're making this, here's the money to make that.
Hey, Tio posted something interesting. Smash just said he can't support another fundraiser. He thought the system was ready to go.
Right,
Yeah.
and he made it clear in his video, which I do give him a lot of credit. I know I've talked a lot of trash about Smash JT. I've said a lot of things that I kind of regret, but he's coming to the realization that, hey, why should I plunk down more money into this when he was under the impression when he did invest that 10,000 that, hey, look, the system was close to being released. My 10,000 is going to help get this thing across the finish line. And now what it looks like is like, wait, you still don't have the games done. You still don't have this system ready to go. Why would I want to invest more money? And it's a good question for any investor. Instead of just kind of looking at it like DJC and Retro Bro and kind of glossing over these facts and saying, well, everything's okay. This is
Well,
a typical thing.
in my understanding, Smash is more of a money guy.
Well, in my understanding, Smash is just trying to save his reputation and his ass. He sees the writing on the wall, and he
Finally.
Maybe.
yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe.
finally.
I don't
I don't
think
know.
he sees the writing on the wall so much as Intellivision is doomed. I think he sees the mass backlash towards this campaign, the anger, and he figures, well, if I can't make money off of the Intellivision, maybe I can make money by saying, look, I'm the one who had integrity. I'm the one who turned around and finally called them out. I called them out on their BS. No, you've peddled so much, Smash.
For a
I'm not
long
giving you
time.
a pass. Someone asked me
Mhm.
this earlier. They said, why is everybody giving Smash a pass? I'm not. I'm not giving him a pass. You've contributed to the atmosphere and the environment in which Intellivision has done these very scummy things. You have attacked people. You've called people haters and detractors, and you've tried to tear people down and ruin other people's reputations who were critical of this system that obviously was never ready to go at 10/10/2020. Okay. Now, maybe Smash might have some inside information from talking to Tommy or the other execs that he's willing to share and say, hey, this is the lies they told me, or these are the things that they promised that didn't happen. And I'll willingly accept that information. But in no way did he make any sort of mea culpa, any sort of apology towards me, towards anyone else who he's tore down, towards any of the gaming community or the consumers for his behavior and his actions of the last 2 or 3 years. So
And
no, he's not
I
getting a
just
pass.
want to clear up that I'm not giving him a pass. I do credit him right now for at least being a little bit more forthcoming and honest when it comes to what's going on now. That totally doesn't excuse his behavior, like you said, Tony, for the
Mhm.
past few years. I do want to give him credit during the time while other YouTubers are out there being highly dishonest. I will give him a little bit of credit with at least being more honest with his viewers. I know it hasn't been like, someone commented and I commented after, it was like, well, someone said along the lines, it's great of you to finally, get off the sinking ship, and you finally see the writing on the wall. And I said something to the extent of like it took him long enough, like, really, does he understand? Because he's still kind of being disingenuous in certain aspects of it in that last video. But I will give him credit. While there are other YouTubers being highly dishonest about what's going on, I do at least give him a slight bit of credit to, if there's someone who might come along his video and they might be a potential investor, they're going to think twice, right? They're going to do the digging. Like he said in his video, do the research, do the digging. That's
No.
correct.
Here's the thing. Again, I hate to cut you off, Gary, but did Smash take all those old videos and private them or unlist them? Because if those
No.
Yeah.
old videos are still available on his channel, then no, he's done nothing. This whole him calling out Intellivision at the 11th hour doesn't mean shit.
Okay. I mean, I'll give him a tiny sliver of credit, but Tony's not having it. So,
No,
but
I'm not
I
having
like.
it. I'm
But I
100%
understand
not
where
having it.
no, I understand where you're coming from, though. Yeah, there's been a lot of sleazy behavior going on,
Mhm.
and none of us condone it. That's why we're here, and that's why we've been talking about it for so long. That's why we've been so adamant about this product. While people were saying, "Well, you don't have to like it," it's not that I don't like it. It's not that I don't want to to succeed. But we have seen the writing on the wall for a very long time, and I've tried to be honest about it. I think Carl's been tried to be honest about it. Everybody here has been trying to at least show that side of it, and we've been getting nothing but disdain from others for doing that. So I understand where you're coming from, Tony.
I want to get to a couple of these comments real quick. Tommy Uyamiko says, "Lol, Goose is probably a guy who works there. That would be funny if he was." Tony's
I mean, on the subject of Smash. Okay, all right.
Tony's informant, lol. I can't answer that. But really, Tony did say they were out of money months ago. That's right. Remember, I did say that months ago. They were out of money. Well, go ahead, Carl. You want to say something about Smash?
I will say, to his credit, when I invited him to Gabbing with Geeks, he was courteous to me. He wasn't rude and nasty. He didn't put me on block or anything like that. So I'll give him credit for, being pleasant to communicate with.
Yeah. A talkie teacher says Rockapella, the guys that did the Carmen Sandiego thing.
Yep.
That's who it was that did the Big Con thing. Genovi here, he says, one thing I want to say, some folks are just willing to trust a little too much. I'm personally willing to give folks the benefit of the doubt. I may be wrong, but I think it's easy to be tricked. Yeah, I understand that. I get that. But the vitriol in which Smash and others have unleashed upon me personally and people that I'm friends with, it doesn't go away by saying, hey, the Intellivision is wrong. There has to be apologies. People have to say, you know what, when I said this about you, I was sorry, I was out of line, heat of the moment, something. Just to pretend like it didn't happen does not fly with me. Sorry.
Everyone's got to to their own emotions, feelings. So,
more Amico goodness that we got to get to, because recently it has been rediscovered, not discovered, because this was actually brought up about 6 months ago, but no one really ran with it because at the time when it was brought up, Phil Adams was not the CEO, so it was kind of overlooked a little. But Phil Adams was on the Coleco Chameleon team, gentlemen. He was part of the team, official member.
The console, that was the scam.
Oh, I believe we brought it up at one point. I'm pretty sure we brought it up at one point, but we didn't harp on it too much.
We did.
I'm just laying the groundwork here.
Hold on. We didn't harp on it because, like I said, he wasn't the CEO at the time.
Correct.
He was just the VP.
The smaller position.
The CRO. But in case people don't understand, Phil Adams was part of the Coleco Chameleon team, but he was also involved in another startup venture with Mike Kennedy. You see, Mike Kennedy did a thing called Postal Gamer, something like that. Basically, it was a service in which you could sell your games. You would send your games to this place, and they would sell them for you, and then you'd get money, or you'd be able to trade them in by mailing your games to a place. So, Phil Adams was involved with that.
That, and you also have John Alvarado involved with the 3DO M2. So there's a lot of things that don't really bode well, trust-wise, if you're going into the Amico investing money. As long as you do your research, I think you've been pretty good.
And here is a post dated March 2008. Because I like to drag up those old posts and show things. This was made by Chase the Chuckwagon, who is Mike Kennedy. He's talking about the premiere podcast for RetroGamingRoundup.com. He says, in it, I have an exclusive interview with Mr. Phil Adams. Phil was the president and co-founder of Spectrum Holobyte. He was responsible for bringing Tetris to the U.S. That's iffy. There's a whole documentary on that, and it's not exactly accurate. And ultimately, its success on Nintendo's Game Boy. Again, Other hits for Spectrum Holobyte were also Gato and Falcon, and he went on to become the president of Interplay and brought out hits like Battle Chess and Bard's Tale. A future interview will be with Mr. Alexei Pajitnov himself, the creator of
Okay, okay,
Tech.
okay.
Wait, nope.
I
It's just 3 comments we're gonna get to real quick. It says nice,
all right.
nice skit. Looking forward to it. This is from Bill Logidice, managing director, Armchair Arcade. At least at the time he was. And Chase the Chuck Wagon, Mike Kennedy said, "Thanks. It's cool as I met Phil on a flight from Orange County to San Jose. He was sitting next to me on a Southwest flight. He was playing Touchmaster DS on his Nintendo DS. I happened to have my DS with me, never travel without it, and said Touchmaster was one of me and my wife's favorite games. He then indicated he was with the company that developed it for Midway, Phoenix Soft. So we ended up shooting the shit for the flight to San Jose, and come to find out he was also the guy who started Spectrum Holobyte. Needless to say, this turned into a very great discussion about the history of gaming. Then we landed, and he asked if I could give him a ride to a venture capital meeting in Sunnyvale. As you do, sure, why not? Then come to find out we are neighbors. That was about a year ago, and we have become good friends ever since. He has a connections to anyone who is anyone in the industry, so he will be getting us lots of great interviews in the future. Life's kind of funny that way." So Mike Kennedy was good friends with Phil Adam, who was then involved in the Coleco Chameleon debacle. That says to me that Phil Adam would not have been out of the loop as far as the whole fiasco aspect of the Chameleon. D-Dub says that didn't happen at all. Then everybody clapped, right? So, Carl, what are you going to say now?
I was going to say, the only reason Tetris on the Game Boy even did well at all was because it was packed in with the damn handheld.
Well,
of course it's going to do better.
Well, be that as it may, Carl, it did well.
So, how do we feel about this? I know Rich from Review Tech made a big deal about Phil Adam being involved in Coleco Chameleon, and now he's the president. What do you guys think?
I mean, obviously, all these guys have had some kind of, unfortunate debacle with, a project they've been with. It doesn't look good for them. I'd say everybody's entitled to, be a part of something that fails. Obviously, failing makes us, better. We learn from our mistakes, but it's hard to look at this project and see that it's not going down that same road. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like you can bring it up and say that, he's failed. Obviously, he's had a lot of successful, ventures and projects in his career, but for them to make him the CEO now and say that anything is just really going to change, I'm not buying it.
All right, one thing before we're going to pause this part of the discussion and go back to the numbers real quick, because I don't want to keep Gatorooze here too long. But it was brought up that potentially the pre-order money would be safe. That no matter what happens, the company collapses, they go out of business, that the pre-order money would be refunded. Gatorooze, can you shed some light on this, whether or not this is a true, false statement, a possibility?
Yeah, look, I can give you my interpretation of the financial statements that are in the SEC disclosure. But once again, this is definitely not financial advice. It's definitely not making a definitive statement. I don't want people to think that. Okay, so if you're trying to make a decision, do I keep my pre-order or not? You should research it yourself. Look at the document yourself, have your own interpretation of it, and make your own decision. What I can say is, again, they only have the 2020 financial statements in it. So things may have changed. So this is at a point in time, December 31, 2020, they did not have enough cash to cover all of the pre-orders. And I'll run through it so you don't think I'm just saying that. On the balance sheet, you have your assets. Any cash on hand is in your current assets. They have two current assets, okay? Cash and cash equivalents. Cash equivalents are like overnight money market kind of stuff. So cash and cash equivalents, $229,000. They have a separate cash account for cash reserved for payroll, and that's $200,000. So a total of $429,000 roughly in the bank. Now, just a small caveat, the bank may have a slightly different reconciliation day to day, so these numbers may be slightly off, but that's usually by a few bucks or a few $100. They did not list, so they listed cash reserved for payroll. They did not list cash reserved for deposits. These are the only two cash accounts on their balance sheet. It would be unheard of for them to have another cash account that's not disclosed on this balance sheet, okay? Now, where I get the figure for the deposits that they've received, that's down in their liabilities. And elsewhere in the document, I forget the exact page, but they basically confirm that's what it is. It's under their current liabilities, deferred revenue. And like I say, elsewhere in the document, they refer to deferred revenue as being the deposits or pre-sales that they've had. And that amounts to $539,300, which that's where I get the 5,400 pre-order figure from. It's basically 540,000 minus, I'm assuming, bank fees, you know, PayPal charges, Visa charges, that kind of thing. So they have $540,000 that they've received from pre-order deposits, but they only have $428,000 in cash. So if every single person that held a deposit requested it back, they don't have enough cash in the bank to pay them all. Now, of course, what if that really did happen, almost certainly the directors would put some more money in straight away. So I don't want to make it sound like a mad panic, you must get your money out now. But it's not accurate. I heard some people saying, no, they've isolated that money, it's in escrow, etc. That is not accurate. The way these accounts, I know why they think that. They see that line item that says deferred revenue and they think that's a separate bank account. That's not how these accounting systems work. When it's a liability, in a case like this, it's basically a log of where the money came from. So when that money comes in, you basically have to debit one side of the equation and credit the other side. And so you'll increase your assets for the cash that comes in. Then on the other side of the equation, you increase your liabilities. And that becomes a log of what that money was for, essentially. So that deferred revenue is just a log of where that money came from. Now, what will happen is later on, when they actually sell that console, they'll remove or deduct the $100 deposit from that account, and then they'll add it on to the revenue account, okay? But what it does not mean is that money is isolated. That's not how it works.
Yeah, and obviously these are the direct pre-orders directly with Intellivision, not something going to like GameStop or one of the other European distributors or stores or whatever you want to call them. So these are the direct.
Yeah. That's an important distinction. If you've got a pre-order with GameStop or anywhere else, that's safe.
Yeah.
GameStop will cover that.
Now, were the pre-orders only in the U.S. for Intellivision, or could that be made in other countries?
I have no idea.
I think you could pre-order from Intellivision from any country, but they also offered pre-orders to other closer distributors like Media
Right.
Mark or Saturn. But I'm not 100%. I'm not confirming 100%. But I mean, they have the link there, so I don't see why you couldn't. You know. But again, it's 5,400 about pre-orders. At least when the document went live, we don't know how many pre-orders have canceled since the pre-orders. Since the whole debacle has unfolded. Yeah, show says they say in the documents that the financials are focusing on the U.S. Yeah, they were supposed to have a 5 or 6 country launch. Now they're saying no, they're going to launch in the U.S. North America is actually what it says, I believe. North American launch, and then other countries will follow later. But they will send out the pre-orders that go out to the other countries as part of any pre-order soft launch that they do. I think that's it for numbers. If you want to stay or bounce Gaterooze, I know you said something about
I'll just let
packet
you know,
windows.
Tony. Sorry, it's page 61. It actually states that 539,300 are for orders that have been paid, but the performance obligations have not been met, i.e., they haven't shipped it.
Say that again, because you kind of trailed off there.
Sorry, mate. Page 61, it states that 539,300 for the pre-sale opportunities for orders that have been paid but basically haven't shipped the console.
Okay. Again, if you need to go, because I know you were saying that you might have to bounce something about wild pack of dingoes and some kangaroos. And,
He's got to attend another beat 'em ups fan convention.
Could be. I know there's a big problem with emus or something in Australia. You guys lost the war to them or something. I don't know.
They're nasty buggers, emus. They'll poke your eyes out.
You're the second Australian we've had on the show, and we gave them all the same crap. So don't feel bad.
But on a side note, it's been great having his take on the numbers. Especially for I'm not bad with numbers. I'm bad when I don't do my own research. So it's great to have somebody here that's has really run down that side of it and to hear your take on it. It's been great.
Thanks. And look, if anyone from Intellivision happens to be listening or looks at any of the stuff I've written up, if I have anything wrong, please let me know and I'll absolutely correct it. So far, I haven't had any such corrections, so who knows?
Well, you are lucky because Intellivision watches our videos religiously. So I'm sure they will.
Gator is the Australian Gen X gamer. That's who he reminds me of. He gives disclaimers. He knows everything about money and finances. He's the Australian version of Gen X.
MIDI Music says bring Gaterooze on for every show. He'll be our financial guru. Whenever we got financial problems, we'll just bring Gaterooze on.
Or Gen X. Or better yet, bring them both on at the same time.
I don't know if we can handle all that.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, guys. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Talking to you.
Okay, cheers.
See ya. And we can always see if Darius Truxton wants to join us next.
Whoa. Well, I think that's it for the Amico. I think we've ran through the numbers. We've said what we
roasted them.
And
Tony,
we're going to move on from that.
Real quick though, those that was all factual, right? Those were facts.
Those were facts. Facts are facts.